Hey, welcome to Glasswerk. I'm here with Nick.
Hello, good to see you again.
Yeah, man. Okay, so my first question is about you broke your leg on is it like warped or just gone?
I broke it just a week before leaving.
Yeah, a week before
A week
leaving.
before leaving.
How
Yeah.
did that happen?
I was at a festival called Camden Rocks, and it was at the Jazz Cafe in Camden, and I climbed up to the top floor, and it just came in my head I might be able to fly. I don't know. I thought you don't know unless you try. So I took a pretty big leap, and it was a bigger leap than I actually planned for in my head, and I entirely crushed my right foot. It just shattered, and I finished the gig though, which I'm proud of. And then I kind of had a choice of like, look, you can either spend 2 months in bed healing, or you man up, go in a wheelchair and go on tour. And I think for my physical health, I probably should have stayed at home. But for like my mental health, I was like, I need to just go.
Yeah.
And I was entirely at that point. Then even more than now, was entirely unknown in America, and so Kevin Lyman had really taken a chance on me by putting me on the tour, and I didn't want to let anyone down, and not going on that tour, which has been a dream of mine for years, it wasn't even an option. So, yeah.
You quite like when I saw you in Manchester last. You have quite an energetic stage show. So how does that transfer into a wheelchair, man? Like how does that? Did you have the same experience, or did you have to make it work? Like how did it?
To be honest, it took a little bit of work. I think that the idea that normally I get to kind of jump around and be at the front of the venue, the back of the venue, and the bar, wherever it may be, and that's kind of how I like to control the room. But having to just do it through what I'm saying and what comes to my mind was an entirely new challenge. But I think it was one that made me a better frontman for it. I think certainly by the end of the tour, I was like, I'd learned a lot of new skills that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to had I not been forced into that situation. So for me, it was actually I just saw it as a cool learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like one of those things where like when one of the senses goes, the others pick up the slack.
Outside hearing things. No. But it was like, it's exactly that. And you kind of, you get forced into a situation, and I know I made the best of it, and it was actually really, really fun.
Last time we spoke, you were saying that you were dividing your time between the UK and LA, was it? Where you were trying to get your new track sorted.
Yeah.
Did you find that a struggle? Was that like a hard thing to do, being between the two places?
Not really. I mean, I think I really love traveling. I've been on the road for 10 years, and I think it's just kind of in my blood. I love traveling around and meeting new people and having new experiences. And it was great for me to go away to kind of to go to somewhere where no one knows who I am and just be able to create, and then to kind of come back and be very grounded and be at home with my family and stuff. It was a really nice experience, and it was a privilege. You know what I mean? This job's a total privilege, and I kind of appreciate every minute now.
Is it difficult to be over in America and still keep that Britishness like in your music and in I suppose in your own personality, because being around other people and other cultures, it does start to sink in a little bit. Is it difficult to keep that Britishness about you, or is that something you try and keep hold of, or are you not really that?
To be honest, I've never been like I need to keep hold of this Britishness. I enjoy traveling because I think some things are better, some things are worse, but it's always kind of a little bit different. And I just enjoyed it. I didn't really think of it as like I need to stay British, but at the same time, I think it made my lyrics, instead of being like, okay, I'm writing now just for a British audience, I can write strictly just about British politics or British way of life. It was like, okay, now I can write about things that are more universal, because I've had my mind kind of expanded to that, and I've been able to kind of see things as I travel. So it's been nice. But I think what I learned most when I traveled is that people are people no matter where you go. There are slight cultural differences, but I think no matter where you go, people are the same. They have the same basic needs, the same basic wants, the same basic struggles. So it's it kind of reinforced what I thought in that sense.
Yeah. My next question was actually going to be about the politics side of things. I mean, like, keeping in touch with the politics here, but as you said, it expands out. Does that work into your music? Is there different political things that you're now talking about as opposed to when you were solely in the UK?
I think that it's probably pretty much the same. I think that the struggles that poor people go through are universal. I think not having enough to eat is not having enough to eat, no matter where you are, and that's kind of what I saw throughout the world, is that there are very few people at the top who are keeping everybody else down. and they do this. They use the same tactics all over the world, and it's very easy for us to start. They want us to be pointing our fingers at each other, blaming each other, saying this guy's to blame, that's to blame, instead of looking up and going, no, it's you motherfuckers up there. And as long as we're kind of pointing the finger at each other, they don't have to worry, because they're happy with us doing that, as long as we don't figure out who's really to blame here. And I think that's kind of a universal thing. I think that the struggle of people to keep making money for other people, and to be locked in the grind and living their life working towards something that is another person's dream is fairly universal. So I think that my politics have always been fairly simplistic, for a reason, and that's because I believe that politics is fairly simple. I believe that if you follow love and you have humanity in your heart, then all the tiny little decisions just kind of go into one category or another. And so for that reason, I think that, politically, it's generally the same thing. I think that my politics comes from a place of love, which is, I believe, universal. Whereas with the King Blues, I could certainly go into more specific things. I could, if I'm talking about, the BNP or the EDL and the rise of that. But I think it's kind of universal in the same way.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think it's definitely a good thing. I mean, love is definitely the right place to be at, and I can appreciate how it's more universal. So it's definitely a good thing. Moving forward slightly, how because you're leaning more towards hip hop now than you were, like the punk side of things. How does the two communities sort of meet? Like, where does that, like, is there a difference between the two? When, like, is there a struggle there, or is it easy to, like, sort of mix?
To me, it's kind of amazing how many kids who are hip hop kids I know who love punk rock, and vice versa. To me, they're both rebel street music. It's music that's homemade, that it's scenes that have sprung up organically. I kind of see hip hop like black punk, and punk rock like white hip hop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't think that they're too dissimilar in that way. When you go into like the more commercial side of things, of course it's different. But I'm not talking about your Little Waynes. When you're talking about the underground, the essence of it is really conscious, political, underground rebel street music. And I think that Public Enemy and The Clash are my two favourite bands who are very similar. But I think the scenes are fairly similar. There are certainly differences, but I think there's a generation of kids now. When I grew up, you kind of picked your tribe. You were either a punk kid, or you were into rock, or you were into dance music, and you didn't come out of your little thing, and it was kind of what defined you, and it was like your identity as well. Whereas nowadays, you go through a kid's iPod, and they've got everything on there. And so I think that, I don't think the two scenes are dissimilar at all, but I also think that there's a lot of groups now who are trying to mix the two together.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that my next question is, especially on Warped Tour, like there's always been sort of a small hip hop sort of thing, like within that. What's it like being one of those bands? Like, what's the reception like for being sort of more of a hip hop artist on Warped Tour? Do you get the same amount, like the same good feedback, or is it a different sort of feeling about it?
It's like a strength and a weakness. I think that the majority of bands who go there probably go there. The majority of kids who go there probably go there for the rock bands. But if you can go there with something different, maybe they're tired of hearing those bands all day and they want to go and see a rapper. And so it kind of works as a strength and a weakness. But I think the community is the same. Do you know what I mean? All the bands and the rappers all get along as one. There's not like a division as such. Mm-hmm. But I think that kids in America are a lot more open-minded to hip hop because it's such a massive part of their culture. Yeah. It's kind of where it's come from. And so they're so used to hearing it. And for us, it made no difference, like whether we went on before a rock band or a dubstep group or another rapper. It didn't make a difference as far as the audiences were concerned. I think that like I said, I think kids nowadays listen to so much different stuff that they're open-minded enough to kind of get when something's good and when it's not. But I also think that I like to bring the energy and the attitude of punk rock to hip hop. So I think kids got that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any news on the full length record? When's that coming out?
That's going to come out here in kind of March, April sort of time. It's going to be called The Deep End, and I finally signed off on it like a couple of days ago. It's finally finished after about a year and a half of working on it. So I mean, most bands don't really have that long to work on a record. It's been a real privilege to be able to be in the studio that long. And we wrote probably about 100 songs for it, and this is it's like the 12 best tracks of it, and we've got some great guests. I've got some rock bands on there, punk bands, reggae singers. It's like some of my absolute heroes are on there. So it's been an honor, and I'm really glad that it's finally finished and has like it's looking to get released here. At the start of
Is
next
there any
year.
one particular person that you're like really excited about the collab that you did with them? Like, is there someone you really enjoyed working with?
To be honest, I got on so well with everyone that I worked with, and that's kind of how it was. I wasn't disappointed at all by meeting my heroes. But there's not one in particular. I think I'm just so excited about all of them that like it was genuinely like that cool. So yeah, I'm excited about all of them.
Was there anyone that sort of surprised you the way they were, like not in a bad way, like in a good way, like somebody that came in to work with you and like, wow, I can't believe that guy's like that, like how awesome is that guy? Or
I think Adam Lazara for sure was when he came in, he was very shy and almost as a person he's almost quite quiet and reserved. And then you put a mic in his hand, and he just becomes someone else entirely. So that was kind of inspiring and kind of cool to see.
Yeah. All right. My last question, man, is just what's your favorite thing about Warped Tour? Like, what has been your favorite thing over maybe the US and the UK?
Do you know? I think that kids who are into this kind of music feel generally like they're rejected from society. They don't feel like or I think at least they feel like they don't fit in at school. They don't fit in at work. Maybe they don't feel like they fit in with their families. And it's like the one day, no matter where you are in the world, that they can come together and feel like they're a part of something. And I think that's why we all make music, you know. And they can come together and say, look, these are the bands we love. This is the culture that we love. And to me, it still stirs me up inside, and it still makes me emotional that these kids who normally just feel rejected and feel like they're on their own can actually come together and for one day feel like, man, this is ours. And that's what I love about Warped Tour.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much. Cheers for doing another interview, and it's great.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks very much.
Best believe I got demons, shit, I got reasons why